Hello, hello, hello. I forgot to play my intro video, so I'm going to sit here and stare at the screen while I wait for people to come. That's all good. How are we all? What are we, 20 seconds, 23 seconds? I should have a bunch of people in a second jump on. Oh, that's funny. Hello. Always takes a minute to load, and I forgot to play my intro video, so there's been like 30 seconds of awkward silence while I wait for everyone to come in. Hey Chris. Hey Amanda. Yeah, where was I on? Oh, because probably Amanda as well. I've been doing Mondays a little bit in October because I have had events on, but yes. Hey Melissa, hey Kerry. I'll jump onto readings in a second. I'm just going to let the comments load up first, so we'll kick it in. There we go. Nice. So I also realised as I sat and got ready about 2 hours ago that they may be here, but anyway, I don't have my cards. I think they're in my office at work, which is cool, which gives me an opportunity just to read for you guys freely, so I'm going to do that this evening, which is nice. I was actually looking forward to that. So guys, just the usual, before I get started, no pregnancy, no legal, no health questions. Please be specific with your questions and I can be specific with your answers. Other than that, my voice is still a little bit from MBS at Sydney. I had, anyway, people burning stuff around me all day is like frustrating. But anyone that knows me knows that I'm a little bit famous for that. So without getting into that, if my voice croaks out, that's why. So yeah, but anyway. While I'm jabbering. Melbourne, MBS, 11th to the 13th of November, stand C57, very much looking to that. I'm going to have the beautiful Leonie Pearson with me reading again, so that's going to be nice. We'll be there for the full 3 days. If you're in Melbourne, come by and have a chance to see me. This is the first time I've had my own stand in Melbourne, so you will not find me in my usual spot. You will find me in my own stand at C57, so if you are in the area, come and say hello. That would be cool. Alright. Let's go. I'm just going to catch up back up to the top of the comments first because I want to grab Melissa. Alright, Melissa. I want to say to you, Melissa, when I'm sitting with your energy, okay, I feel like that the first thing that I hear around you is that you need to slow down a little bit, and I don't necessarily feel like this is in the physical. I feel like it's almost in your mind, and I want to say to you I don't want to say procrastination, but it just feels like there's a little bit of a tug of war back between, what you're able to do and what you think that you should be doing. And so definitely, be gentle on yourself through there. But I'm feeling that you've been kind of working towards change, and when I see that, what I feel is just like a betterment around it. I don't feel like you're necessarily looking to rock your world and turn it all upside down, but definitely bring things into play that make it smoother. And it's interesting because it's not just like a work energy and things like that, though I don't want to exclude that. I also feel like this is kind of like connected to personal relationships and that sort of stuff. It's almost, perhaps it is just we've been dealing with a lot of family drama, or, someone's been going through some challenges that you've been kind of linked emotionally with. But I want to say to you, it's kind of, when I say time to stand back, I don't want to go, listen, it's time to stand back from all that. I just want to say, it's time, things feel like they're improving, and so just be mindful to take that time for you and that rest and that restoration, and also just making sure, I guess, that you are looking after yourself through those relationships as far as boundaries and things like that go. But I don't want to get too top heavy with that. But I do want to say that as I said, it just feels like a battle of the minds. It is definitely coming to a point where you're going to be able to see that the hard work that you've been putting in and that mindfulness that you've been working towards is coming into play, okay? So I feel like if I jump over to the next side of the new year, like when I sit in January around with you, I feel really nice, I feel really light, okay? And I feel like there's also like some relief that's coming in around me as well. I don't necessarily, we obviously are focused in on a particular point here, so I don't want to suggest that, everything around you is ho-hum, but I certainly just feel like that central line that's running through, okay? Additionally to that, I feel like there's been a little bit of extra expenses, or will be, and it feels like it's connected to a car. I always say if you do service and rego and those kind of things, then yeah, okay, then we can put it to that. But if those things aren't due, just check. It feels like just something minor, you know what I mean? So I always say, check your tyre pressure, and if your tyres need to be rotated or whatever else it is. But for some reason I keep talking about tyres with you, so perhaps that is what it is. I will stop gibbering about the cars. I'll leave all of that with you. But again, just essentially kind of check in with yourself. See what's serving you in your own productivity and what isn't. Because sometimes, as I said, I just feel like there's an element of what you think that you should be doing as opposed to what you're actually able to do, or is a kind of way to do for yourself as well. I feel like once you kind of bring in a little bit of adjustment around that, it's almost like just taking off that. It's like if I look at a river flowing down the creek there, I'm moving some rocks out of the way and it's able to flow easier. Alright, so I'll leave that with you and hope that helps. Alright. Let me just see how far behind I am in the comments. 8:36, 8:36, beautiful. Just be mindful, guys, as well. Not mindful, that's the wrong way to put it, but I am free reading tonight for those of you who have just jumped in. I'm not using my cards this evening simply because they're at work, and I always like an opportunity anyway to do that. So absolutely happy to read for you if I'm drawn, but the more specific you are with your questions, the more specific I can be with your answers. Miriam. It's letting go, and it's the energy that sits around you at the moment there. I feel like there's been kind of like a constant, it's funny I say lagging but I want to say nagging, that sits around you, and it feels like there's that close connection that sits there, and it's an interesting energy with you because I'm feeling like even in myself I'm in a conundrum, and there's always a theme to the evening, and it's obviously coming out early tonight. But what I want to say with you when I sit with your energy is kind of essentially not the same thing, but sitting back and seeing where you're at, because I'm feeling this real tug of war when I'm sitting and actually trying to read with you. It's almost like what I know to be true, and sometimes we take something in and we don't want it to be that way. So if somebody is constantly making us feel like shit, for example, but shows us love on the other side and things like that, we can sit back and justify or give chances and all of that kind of thing. And whether it's a person or a situation around you, I feel like that's kind of where the energy's at. And so I implore you just to kind of sit back and have a look at that, because at the end of the day, the truth is the reality of what you're seeing. And if kisses were wishes and all of those kind of little bits and pieces, and as I always say, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck. You can't dispute what the evidence sort of shows in front. And so just kind of sit with that, because when I sit with you, you've got this really beautiful like I feel intelligence, and I feel like insight and wisdom, and this really nice sense of intuition and things like that. And so I imagine somewhere inside you're kind of grating against yourself, you know what I mean? And so just kind of sit and have a look around. I don't want to say that you've hit a wall, that's too solid, but I do feel a bubble around you. And it's interesting because, like, bubble, you go pop. But I see that around you, and I feel like that's what you need to do. You need to kind of go pop. And I would imagine at some point you've kind of sat back and also sort of reflected, like, I imagined I'd be here, I imagined I'd be there by now, I really would have liked to have been here or there by now. And again, not to suggest you're not happy where you are and that you haven't moved forward enough, but I feel like you understand what I'm talking about within that. It's that extra layer of depth and everything else. And once I pop that bubble is the restraint around me that I'm allowing situations and people to kind of bring in and around, just through being kind and loyal and all of those kind of little bits and pieces. But popping that bubble, you watch and see. It's like how a bubble floats. When I see it with you, I see it the opposite. I pop the bubble and you float, and it's like, oh, I'm going up higher and I'm going to where I should be, and it's such a delightful feeling that I sit in to the point I want to use the word delightful. So just be mindful, take in and a check, and I hope that helps. Alright. Catch back up. Where did that go? Ebony, I would love some guidance, please, what path to take. And one of the things that I kind of hold true when I do readings and things like that is to never tell people the paths that they're supposed to take, the jobs that they're supposed to have, and all of those kind of little bits and pieces, but certainly give the insight and guidance around that ability to come to that point yourself, okay? And I feel like when I sit with you, there's almost like 3 options around, and I want to say to you that one of those options there, it feels like there's either a bunch of like either study or learning that needs to come in before it, or there's a block. I don't really like that word, it can be a little bit cliche, but like a need of confidence and lack of, you know, self-belief and all those kind of little bits and pieces to actually feel like you can come to this point. But it feels like there's a layer of hard work there that you're ready for and you're able to do, but kind of struggle to see how it fits in with everything else, okay? So my advice to you is to sit down with pen and paper, and I always say that because when we write down with pen and paper, not typing, but actual pen in our hand, and get creative, put crayons in your hand, it works even better, and sit and just kind of write, well, this is where my interests are, this is what kind of I'm connected to, this is the path that I need to take to actually get to that point. And you'll pretty much find by the time you get to that end of that piece of paper, if you sit down and create it, you know, make yourself a nice cup of tea, you know, glass of wine, whatever it is. Don't get drunk while you do it, but, you know, a glass of wine. If you get drunk, you'll end up being like a, you know, something very different in the morning. You applied for some course somewhere. But, you know, jokes aside, I can see it and I can feel as well. You've got that, yeah, okay, you know, this is what works, this is what fits in right now, this is what I'm able to do, and this is actually what I want to do. And again, I feel like that path that you're meant to take has to be quite honest with you, I want to go over like 4 or 6 years of learning, and I don't want to say that it takes 4 or 6 years to get to that point where you are, but you'll find that once you've actually grasped into that step that's there, you'll take that first initial and then you'll add layers to it, okay? I can see that. And so there's a lot of passion that's going to come in around what you choose to do, but nobody can actually kind of create that path for you. But again, I feel like there is those couple of options that sit there, and if you're sitting there going, nah, there's nothing in my head, go a layer deeper to the dreams. And I heard something, it was in a song, I was literally video scrolling, and if I can remember the words, I wanted to remember the words, because they were talking about like why dream at night when you can daydream. You know, that was kind of the essence in the song, and what the message behind that was is like, why save the fantasies for fantasies? You know, why not live them in the day? You know, and I kind of encourage you to do that, because I feel like once you go, you know what, fuck it, I live once, I get to be whatever I want to be, I get to do whatever I want to do. You know, we all know that's within reason, to blah blah blah, but once you actually embrace that and step forward with it, you're really going to surprise yourself about what you're able to achieve. And, you know, take a moment to smile at yourself in the mirror and to bring everything up and to bring that kind of, that warrior woman that you know that's in there, but that you're kind of humble and go, no, you know, control yourself. We don't need self-restraint, you know, not when it comes to our dreams and our beliefs and our goals. That's where we have to have balls, that's where we have to be courageous, that's where we have to dare to dream. You know, and so I think that once you actually allow yourself that energy, you're going to come a lot clearer as well. So sit down in a fantasy type, because, you know, reality is soon going to sort you out anyway. Once you start working out what works, what I can achieve, you know, what study is needed or what learning's needed. As I said, reality will come along and help you. So in the meantime, throw all your dream energy into it. And as I said, you're going to have a pretty clear path. But at the end, I can see you're like, oh, I'm nervous with anticipation to actually ever consider that. Think about what happens if you don't. Think about the worst possible scenario is what? You go and do a part of it and realise that it's not for you. That's the worst possible outcome. So again, don't be afraid to dream and actually move forward. That high up thing there that you lingers in the back of your head is where you're actually meant to be. And so, yeah, enjoy the ride, enjoy the lessons on the way, because there's going to be plenty of them. But it's, yeah, I hope that all helps. Take it into consideration, and yeah, let it float your boat. Alright. I'm being Miss Philosophical this evening, interestingly, probably because I don't have my cards, but anyway, would love to know if this is long-term or short-term, please. You know what? When I say you're not meant to know, I say that with doubt, and you're kind of sitting there going, that's not what I wanted to know. But imagine if I say to you right now, no, this is only short-term. You know, you're going to act and treat like that. And imagine I say to you, oh yeah, this is long-term. And even if that's what I picked up and thought, you know what I mean? Like any psychic that stands there and says, I'm 1,000% right all of the time, So you know what I mean? That makes me feel like I doubt myself anyway. I'm not going to go down that path because I absolutely don't. What my point is that let it be a journey. Let that rise organically, because again, if I say to you short term, you're going to go in with the energy of short term. If I say to you long term, you're going to go in with the energy of long term. And you know, if it's long term and it's meant to be short, blah 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 blah. So let it, just enjoy the journey. Give it your all. Give it your trust and understand the processes around, and if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, call it out as a duck. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of something, but you know, if you're kind of sitting there with the possibility of, hey, this can be long term, then let it be everything that you need. Let it be, you know, around your boundaries and everything else like that, because if it doesn't suit your boundaries and if it doesn't suit what you need and you're not able to reciprocate that, then it's meant to be short term. But by going in with a long term attitude, you're going to realize that in the short term. Okay, so yeah, I want to say go with the flow, give it your all. Okay, I feel like you're safe to do that, but you're doing that to build and trust as well, and to understand that you love yourself and that you know yourself well. So yeah, again, I know it's not the A or B answer that you wanted, but I absolutely do feel like it's the right one. So I hope that helps. Ruth, I actually feel like there's an energy around you. I feel like perhaps you're even just at a chat stage. It's interesting though, it's got an old energy to it. I wonder if this is either like an old friend or a come around cycle again, you know, not necessarily connected to a previous love connection, but again, you know, I knew this person 20 years ago or that kind of thing. I think you're going to find that the person that you connect to around next, if the connection's not directly with them, you'll find out that he's like, oh, we both went to the same high school, or you know what I mean, there's a familiar that rides in the middle of you guys. Recognize your own insecurities as you move forward. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know, we all have a certain level of insecurity, but kind of recognise things that you're perhaps hypersensitive to, or that you're worrying about within yourself, and take ownership and responsibility for that, because I don't feel like those things are going to be given to you by this person. In other words, you're going to be able to have trust and security there, but you're going to feel insecure, and you know, with absolute respect, that's on you, not them. And so it's a nice opportunity and a really safe place to actually sit back and go, oh wow, I recognise that, you know, when you're out with your mates, for example, that I can tend to worry based on, you know, these experiences or things like that. Well, okay, I recognise I've still got some work to do with that, and to kind of take a breath and let yourself, you know, develop that sense of security around it. And so don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, oh, listen, by the way, all the problems that are going to be here is on you. That's not by any yards of the stick what I want to say, but what I do want to say is that I feel a very an earned energy of reward, you know, and so recognise that as we come into something that's new and can feel unfamiliar because it's like not like something we've had before, it can feel strange, and that in itself can kind of flare up, you know, why does this feel strange, this feels foreign, blah 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 blah. I remember years and years ago, I am separated now, but my partner that I was with and I are best friends. We get on like a house on fire. But I remember when I first was with them, I used to joke, say it with respect, but his gentleness and his respect and his softness, it really kind of caught me off guard, and I was almost expecting the, you know, the masculinity and the flare up and the, you know, dick in the hand kind of attitude that I'd always been so used to, and it took me a couple of months to kind of, you know, stop kind of giggling in the background about, you know, what a softie this guy is, because it was different. And so I share that because I sort of want to give an example of what I'm talking about. For me, it felt really strange and almost made me kind of, you know, judgmental over it being too soft. But then I kind of sat back and recognised, no, this is what respect is supposed to feel like, and this is what, you know, someone who treats you properly is supposed to feel like. Oh, well, okay, didn't know that. You know, as silly as it sounds, I just want to share that as a comparison because it feels like that's a good example of the point I'm trying to make, okay? So, when you talk about near future, look, I feel like I'm talking about, as I said, I do feel like there's an energy that sits there with you now, so if it's not, but I really do feel like I'm sitting around look, if I sit over a 6 months journey, I do feel like there's a little bit of interchange within that. But I want to suggest to you as well that everything that comes into play is meant to be, it'll be up to you to kind of call things out. Don't feel like you've got to hold on to something that isn't right. If you kind of recognise, don't go, oh, I'll just see how it goes, or, oh, you know, they're probably just because I'm nervous, or probably this, call it out as you see it, okay, and let them kind of ride and go, you know, it was a nice opportunity to meet, thank you for the connection, but, and allow yourself to move forward, okay? Don't make excuses as to why something's a little bit off, because there is ample opportunity that sits there, and I do actually feel a really nice relationship around you that has a long-term quality to it when I'm sitting with you next year. I do get taken partway through next year, okay, and I feel like the reasons for that are that they're showing me just this relationship existing, they're not actually showing me when it comes into play, and again, I think that there's a little bit of a journey that's attached to it, and when I say that, I don't mean hardship and challenges, I'm talking about an exploration journey, and so you're not actually meant to know, you know, yeah, at this exact time, this is coming in at this exact time, because there is ample opportunity around, and I feel like by discovering that and exploring it yourself, you actually find where it is that you're meant to be, okay? So don't be afraid, as I said, to kind of aim for the stars, I guess, when it comes through to it, because that star is sitting there. You may not just have to pass a couple of comments on the way, alright? So I hope that helps. Hey Sonia, that's always hard, isn't it? I feel like I'm working between 3 energies here, and I feel like 2 of those energies are more mutual than the 3 together, if that makes sense what I'm trying to say. And when I say mutual, I don't necessarily want to say they're friends and connected or anything else like that, but I just feel like the velocity is not as strong. The reason why I was drawn to it is because immediately I kind of just got drawn several years forward, and so I know that that's not, oh yeah, guess what, next Christmas kind of answer, but I don't want to use the word ever, okay? When I jump forward, I can see connections, and I'm not necessarily being shown the adults, I'm being shown the grandkids. Feels like a summer's day, I'm outside, I can see water play, so I imagine there's a hose there in play. Hoses in play are going to be at somebody's house, so there's a joining here, okay? But again, I feel like I'm forward. I'm forward in time, several years at least, alright? And when I say at least, I'm not saying, oh yeah, it's going to be 20 years, but it's several years at least. So I hope that helps. Let me catch up with the comments. Let me... Sorry guys, I just had to grab onto something. Alright. Nice. Jamil, you've actually got a really nice energy when I sit with you. You've got a really strong business energy around you, so I imagine if you're not running your own business, what you do with work requires a level of mindfulness around systems and little bits and pieces like that. Can you just say thank you? Yeah, sorry, I just needed to reply to something there. So actually when I tapped into you, the first thing that I was kind of really drawn to was the creativity energy around you. I really want you to kind of pay attention. If those ideas aren't into fruition, though I do feel like they're already tapping in, pay attention to them as they come along, okay? I feel like there's an addition to, and so whatever your source of income now is, I don't necessarily want to shift and change away, but I definitely want to add something on top of it, okay? And it feels more like more than just a promotion or that kind of energy. It feels like this is something that you've actually created into it. There may actually be someone connected to it as well, or at least you've got someone standing beside you that is really encouraging you. This would be another female energy too. So Yeah, interesting. When I sit with you over the next year, I'm shown like financially things actually flowing quite nicely around you, and I kind of get shown in a way that you haven't seen before. And so I know, yeah, interesting, because it's kind of like shows how much hard work and everything else like that you've actually put in to come to this point in time. So if we are focused on a career side of things, as I said, it could be just that you're quite autonomous and have the systems in play and things like that. I want to say to you, there's a really nice level of recognition that sits with that then, okay? Because either way, I'm seeing definite financial improvement and a flow, and I want to say it's an idea, there's something coming in, it's in addition to, it absolutely, I'm being corrected as I speak, no, it is in addition to, and I want to say even if it sits around investments, okay, you're going to get the swing of those, and so just, yeah, very much pay attention to the financial additions in which your ideas and things like that are sitting creatively around, things are falling into place, and I feel like these are things that when I say change things, yeah, absolutely, because they make things easier, but I want to say it's something that comes in permanently. Whatever it is that's there is something that you're going to be embraced with for the next sort of, up to 10 years of your life. So I hope you enjoy what your journey is coming up, and thank you very much for joining me. Alright, I'm going to do about 3 more readings, guys. I know I jumped on a little bit late this evening. I'm in the throes of uni at the moment, to be honest with you, and so things are just a little bit laggy behind, but I'm going to do 3 more readings before I go, and I'm just trying to scatter through my head now. It's Friday. I will endeavour to jump on for at least another half an hour over the weekend as well, because I know that didn't have to do anything, but I like to be on for at least an hour, and so I will chuck you guys, listen to me, I'm going to be on for another half an hour over sometime over the weekend, but I'm not 100% sure, but I will suggest to you that it's going to be Sunday evening, because my beautiful boy is home from the army at the moment and only home for 2 more weekends, and so I'm absolutely going to be chasing him every second that I can. Alright, let me catch up with the comments. Where are we time-wise? You're very welcome. Very welcome. Oh, nice. Okay. Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. I said, oh, nice. That was interesting the way I just read that. Yeah, it's funny. I got all the energy before I kind of read the question. I was answering, and then I read it and went, oh, no, it's anyway, yes, that's a big fat yes on that one. It was nice. There's when I say slight changes, I don't necessarily want to change the outcome, but perhaps a little bit of the path, and I see this in like either a terms and conditions kind of feel, a need to either change or shift contracts, and when I say that, it's almost like, section 2.1 states this and it needs to say this, you know what I mean? It's some just minor detail kind of stuff, I feel. Feels mostly on time. I want to say, like, if you're expecting it in, say, like 3 or 4 weeks, that I maybe want to add a couple of days to it. So if you're expecting it in, say, 6 months, I want to add a week to it, make that sort of delay relative, because I don't feel like it's long at all. It's the beginning of something. Really take the time to kind of understand how you can build on that, because it may not come in straight away, but there's an opportunity to build, and I feel like just with a little bit of discipline, mindfulness that's there, in addition to, because I don't feel like you've not got the discipline or mindfulness that's there now, but it's like, hey, did you know that if we do this and this and this for this amount of time, you can also do this and this and this, okay? So really pay attention, because as I said, I feel like you guys are really building yourself a nice solid foundation, something that you're going to actually be able to really build on. Be mindful of the communication between you two. I don't want to suggest in any way, shape or form that the relationship's but I just feel like almost like an excitement and anticipation and a little bit of an impatience and a little bit of tossing and turning of ideas, that things can get a little bit like at each other, and we can walk away and laugh about it later, but perhaps just a little bit of a more systematic communication system through these plans allows things to kind of just be heard a little bit more. There's a definite excitement and anticipation though, so I can understand why that's there. So enjoy the journey. You're building a really nice solid foundation, but as I said, don't underestimate what it is that you are building. I feel like this is just going to continue to serve itself for a long time to come. Enjoy. Tuk tuk. Some really interesting questions in here tonight. We don't know the time, sorry. I'm trying to find a... Oh, that's why. Okay, now that's better. Alright. Sandy. I feel like there's just a mindfulness that's going to come into play around you soon. So, a mindfulness over loved one. It's interesting. I'm quite drawn around grandmother energy around you, but I don't necessarily want to say that that's where the concern is, but perhaps it is. But there's a very strong grandmother energy that comes in play around you. Yeah, so much so I feel like I could probably sit here and actually chat with her. But I'll keep on track with your reading. And so, there's a mindfulness. Attention to something, attention to detail. That's there. I'm talking to myself, so I'll just repeat it again quickly because I kind of mumbled. There's a mindfulness and attention to detail that's going to be there, and it's definitely connected in with people. I feel like this can ride over, sort of 3-4 months kind of energy that's there, and what I want to say to you in between all of that is just that it is a mindfulness. Don't let it be something that detracts you or subtracts you away from anything in your life. And that thing that mindfulness comes to, as far as it goes, doesn't want you to actually do that either. And so when I say thing, I'm talking about like that person, that situation that's there. There's no need to actually put, but I feel like you tend to kind of go, no, I want to give 100% of my all that's there, but keep some for yourself as well, alright? Otherwise I feel like you're kind of draining yourself unnecessarily. In that, okay, just, sometimes we kind of, the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Just kind of check in with yourself there as well, because I feel like somewhere in that, and I'm just going to share it because it come up, it's in that energy there when I sat with it, it's kind of like that, I'm trying to help somebody who's really kind of got no interest in helping themselves, or I keep, picking up after the person who keeps leaving their plate on the side bench, even though they're, too lazy to go and move the plate off the side bench, but I keep picking it up, and it's because, I'm trying to keep the grater good, even and balanced and clean, and, all those kind of little bits and pieces. So obviously take that in context, but for me, I just sort of want to check in because, as I said, it feels like your energy sources, it's almost like you're sitting as a bucket with a hole in it. And again, it doesn't need to mean that it's over every single part of your body, but I do feel like this, and I feel like that taps into the emotional drain, and it's like it runs down my center core, and so it kind of is feeling depleting. But again, like, as hard as it is sometimes, is where we're letting our bucket drain, water in a plant, or is it just running down a dirty gutter and adding to the muck? Because, again, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So I hope all of that helps. Thank you very much for joining me. Just be mindful. Again, as I said, you feel like you've got an energy drain around you. Even if that's like an ungrateful boss or whatever, but you can see, like, I really kind of want to sit with that energy and not just let it go. You'll notice like little niggly bits and pieces around health and stuff, and so I'm mindful because I say I don't do health readings when I'm live, but just pay attention, okay, to there, because it's the energy that's draining out that's actually making you feel that way most part, alright? So leave that there with you. I hope it helps. Definitely pay attention to what it is that you need, okay? You're just as important as everyone else. Alright. So guys, last reading that I'm going to do this evening, but again, as I said, I know I was here a short time, and I do like to do the hour, so I will be back probably Sunday evening, if I find myself with tickles on my hand, though. You may find us at a different time, so keep an eye on the page. If you like my page, you'll get notified. Alright. May I contact you to receive a personal reading? Yes, you can. If you go into my booking system, either through the Facebook page, click book now. Otherwise, you can go to the website soulfulcreations.com.au and click book now as well. You'll be taken there. Look, there's a few different services. I try to offer things from quick readings up to long ones, and so just have a look and see. I've tried to put a price budget there for everybody. Alright. Actually, you know what I haven't done for a while, just because I've been so busy? Christmas is coming up. Oh no, it's nearly November. So I'll put a Christmas code up over the weekend as well. I'll announce that on Sunday. I've been meaning to do that, you just reminded me. Alright, so I'm just going to scramble on the last one as I always do. Sharon. Sharon. Sharon, Sharon, Sharon. Sharon. I didn't read for you before, did I? I'm trying to think because I saw your name before. I think I was just drawn to you. The joys of channeling. I can't remember shit from the last 20 minutes ago. Please, would love some guidance, please. Alright, Sharon. You feel like you've got a lot of things going on around you. It's almost like I've got to do this and this and this and this before I do this and this and this. I imagine you wake up with quite a lot of to-do lists each day. Your father's energy is quite strong around you, actually, and I just want to say, I'm not going to jump into, what I want to say to you around is that there's a really strong message of appreciation and gratitude that sits there with it, okay? So just kind of know that in the context that it's meant into, but a very strong sense of appreciation and gratitude. And there's a message that says thank you that's sitting there with that as well. Now, those messages, I'm just going to sit with that. I keep going complex because I'm like, I want to go this way and I'm doing psychic. What else do I want to say? Yeah, it's funny, Sharon, like when you're sitting and you're channeling and you're tuning in with people, how I feel and my energy and everything else like that is part and parcel of that sort of thing. And when I sit with your energy that's there, I feel quite reflective and I feel almost, I don't know if heavy is the right word. I think just, you can see, like my energy shifts. Make sure you're sort of giving yourself a lot of love and nurture and everything else like that at the moment, okay? If things are feeling clouded around you, I want to say to you that it does clear. As I said, when I sit and I see so much around you, I actually see it as rocks. And I don't, not as rocks, as boulders. And I don't necessarily want to derive that as something negative because, climbing over rocks and enjoying the beautiful view that comes and everything else like that is actually something quite beautiful. And I don't really get a negative sense off of it, but I get a challenging sense that sits there with it, okay? So just kind of, check in with yourself. If you're feeling exhausted and tired, I definitely want to say give yourself some time out and make yourself do that. Gives you a chance to recharge and to regenerate, because when I sit with your energy, as I said, I'm sitting back, I'm quite reflective, and I've just got that exhausted feeling kind of sitting over me, okay? So keep in check with yourself. I feel like your body and the energy around you is speaking to you, is giving you energy, telling you what it needs, but it's like, oh no, I've got no time for that, okay? As an old saying always says, make time for it or it'll make you make time for it, okay? So I'll leave that there with you and I hope that helps. Alright guys, so love you and leave you for now. As I said, I will be back and finish another half an hour over the weekend. But other than that, if you can't be good at it. Look forward to seeing you at Melbourne MBS for those of you that are going to be around. But in the meantime, stay tuned over the weekend. I will release the Christmas code and I'll put that up on the page. Alright guys, see ya.